Hi everybody. This video is going to be about how to determine the type, the quantity, and quality of categorical statements. So this is section 4.2 from the famous Hurley textbook. And so I'm going to take you through a few of these and then send you off on your own. So the first exercise says for each of the following categorical propositions, identify the letter name, the quantity, and quality, then state whether the subject and predicate terms are distributed or undistributed. So we're going to be doing a few things here. So here's number one, no vampire movies are films without blood. Well, if we change vampire movies to S to the subject class and films without blood to P, we get no SRP. So what letter name is this type of categorical proposition? Give you a second here. No SRP, you are correct. Good job. That is an E-type statement, the letter name of E. So remember the four different types are A, E, I, and O. A is universal positive or universal affirmative. All SRP, then E is universal negative, no SRP. A, E, I are some SRP, and O is some S are not P. And those are particular affirmative and particular negative. So first of all, we have to identify what letter names. So we know that no SRP is an E, so no vampire movies are films without blood is E. And then it says to identify the quantity and quality. So quantity of this statement. So remember all and no, we're talking about all or none of an entire class. So that is considered universal. And the quality is whether or not it is affirmative or negative. And that's probably the easiest. You look for the statements that have no or not, and that is negative. All right, so we know that this statement, no vampire movies are films without blood, is an E-form statement. Its quantity is universal and its quality is negative. All right, let's look at another one. This is a derivation of number 3, something similar to it. Some bands are groups that make lots of money. For example, Lil Pump, Rick Ross, anyway. So some bands are, so that look for the copula, are or is. So some bands, that is the S group, the S category, and are groups that make lots of money. Some bands are groups that make lots of money, so that would be P. So what we have here is some, S or P. All right, so we have A, E, I, O, just like the alphabet letters. That's how you can remember them, A, E, I, O. The first two are universal, the second two are particular. So anytime you see some, that's a particular because we're only talking about a certain subset of the class. So some SRP is an I-form statement. We know that, as I just said, that the quantity is particular. So anytime you have some, it's a particular quantity. And then because it's some RP, it is an affirmative statement or a positive statement. It doesn't have the not in it, so it's not negative. And so we call that affirmative. So that is the quality is affirmative. So some bands are groups that make lots of money. Yin Yang Twins, you know, just our favorites. Britney, Brit, J-Lo. Okay, so I want to talk about something else though here, because a lot of times propositions or statements will not be in a categorical form. And here's another example. What if I said some bands make lots of money? Well, you can see that that's not in categorical form because there's no copula, right? So then you think to yourself, well, maybe I just need to add the copula. So some bands are make lots of money. Wait, that doesn't sound right, right? Some bands are make lots of money. Well, that can't be right. In cases where you don't have a categorical form, all you have to do is add, you can actually usually add the subject term, but sometimes you want to change it up just so that you're not too rote. But anyway, what you need to do is you need to add a noun to the predicate class. So you wouldn't say some bands are make lots of money, but you would change it to some bands are groups that make lots of money. And here you can see that we've added that noun that we need to create a predicate class. So some bands are groups that make lots of money. So here, P, the predicate would be groups that make lots of money, and the subject would be bands. So here's another example. My name is Justin. So Justin makes little bits of money. So Justin doesn't make a lot of money. And then, okay, so this is where it gets a bit more difficult. When you use a specific person or a specific entity or creature like a dog or whatever, okay, so you can think of this like, you might think, oh, okay, all Justins are people who make little bits of money. But then that doesn't really make sense, right? Or all Justin, because it's not the case that we're talking about all Justins in the world, right? So it's not the case that all Justins in the world or the universe are people who make little bits of money. You can see that I've changed the predicate class here to an appropriate group. And then if you said some Justin is people, or some Justin are people who make little bits of money, that also doesn't work, right? Because you are talking about one person, Justin in particular, me. But this is an ambiguous Justin, right? So we're not capturing the specific Justin that you're talking about. So when you're talking about a specific person, you say all people identical to Justin are people who make little bits of money. I know it's somewhat tedious here, but all people identical to Justin are all people. Me, I'm the only person who's identical to Justin. I'm the only one who inhabits this body. Well, most of the time, sometimes my alternate personalities come out, just kidding. But all people identical to Justin or me are people who make little bits of money, or people who don't make enough money. So if you're talking about your dog, Carrots, Carrots loves to play fetch. You would say all dogs identical to Carrots, assuming Carrots is the name of your dog. All dogs identical to Carrots are dogs who love to play fetch. And that's how you can create a categorical statement or proposition from in a non-standard form. All right, so let's do one more, and then we will stop this recording. All right, as our final example here, all sushi restaurants are places that serve hamburgers. Now, it's important, I added this one because, or you could say, all dogs are cats. These are two examples of categorically false statements, right? It's not the case that all sushi restaurants are places that serve hamburgers, and it's definitely not the case that all dogs are cats. However, these statements are still in categorical form. So even though they are false categorical statements, it doesn't mean that they're not categorical statements. So we can still evaluate them. So let's look at the first one. All sushi restaurants are places that serve hamburgers. First, we need to find the letter name of this statement. So we have the A, E, I, and O. Again, A is the universal all SRP. So if we make sushi restaurants S, and places that serve hamburgers as P, then we get the A form, which also equals all SRP. All right, because we're talking about everything, we know it's not particular, it's universal, right? So its quantity is universal. And then finally, the quality is either affirmative or negative. And here it's a positive statement. There is no negativity in pronouns or anything, or in adjectives. So we have a universal negative statement. Oops, sorry. That is totally wrong. And many times we are wrong, and I was just wrong, and I'm sorry. I made a mistake, but now I've corrected it. So, all right, so all sushi restaurants or places that serve hamburgers is an A form, all SRP statement. Its quantity is universal, and its quality is affirmative. So those are some examples of how to evaluate the letter name, the quantity, and the quality of categorical propositions.